Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for joining me for another show. I really appreciate all of your time to tune into my YouTube channel and watch these videos with me. Today, I'm introducing a really inspiring entrepreneur in South Africa, Nienie Wood. Nienie, please will you tell us a little bit more about your business and who you are?
So my name is Nienie and I run a business called Transformational Coaching, and it's mainly geared for female entrepreneurs, especially out-of-the-box thinkers. I love working with creatives because I find that for a lot of creative people, they have a very high inner critical voice, and sometimes those voices are the things that hold us back and make us wanting to do things so perfectly that we never end up actually putting our life's work out there. So my real aim is to help creatives to really find the courage and the internal resources, resilience, especially alignment, and then just connecting with their true authenticity to bring forth something that the world needs. And so I just love helping people to just break from just old mindsets or that critical inner voice that is holding them back from really pursuing what the world would really benefit from their gift. So that's what I do.
Somebody with a critical inner voice that shouts very loudly. I think you're doing a great job. It's much needed out there. And how long have you had this business?
Well, this is something that's really evolved for me. All my life I've read self-help books from a very young age, and so I think my journey to understand more about life, and I think Jim Quick says it best. He says that all of us have one question we ask. We're always asking this one question. And our whole paradigm of how we see life, how we respond to people, even the careers we enter into is this question that we have that's driving us to answer this question. I think that question for me was, how can I make things better? How can I understand the purpose of life more so that I can really and the thing is, this whole thing of fulfillment and your life purpose is a very tricky thing, because I think sometimes there's steps that we take on our life's journey that prepare us for the next thing. And so for me, it was really connecting with my intuition. And so that has been a very long journey where ultimately it's brought me to this place of, I would say the last 4 years specifically that I've been doing this coaching, but mostly transformative inner work, because I find, you can have the best product out there, you can have the best service, but if nobody can find you, if you haven't got the ability to put yourself out there, then I think the world is missing out on that thing that you want to bring forward. So yeah, it's been about 4 years doing what I'm doing, but my journey has been very much a lifelong journey of connecting with my intuition and really finding this place of alignment where one can really create. So I've done artwork, I've homeschooled my daughter. All of those things have just geared me to this place where I help other artists and other creative people to really come to this aligned space where we can each bring forth a gift that the world needs.
Does that internal question ever change? Because I know for myself, as I've gotten older, my question has changed a little. Do you find that creatives get to that point also?
Well, what I think what happens is that, when you hone in and you allow your intuition to really guide you, that question becomes clearer and clearer and clearer. And for me, the whole thing of understanding your emotions is a very deep part of this process, because I think for many creative people, they're highly emotional, and it's because of their ability to feel that they are able to express something that they're then able to present to the world. And so for me, the more clearer you can understand how your emotions work, and I have a thing where I speak about befriending your emotions. And so even emotions of anger or overwhelm, those are the two specific emotions I help clients process, because I find with them are really the keys to unlocking, honing in this thing of alignment, and then the answer, the question that you're speaking about becoming clearer and clearer and clearer, till your whole being becomes the answer to the question, if I can say it like that. And obviously it's going to change, obviously it's going to evolve, but I find there's a very strong correlation between understanding one's emotions and knowing how to process them, and then how to listen to them, and that they become your guiding system to unlock experience. Because the whole thing of life purpose is such a emphasis on people. What is your life purpose, and have you found your life purpose? So that for many people, they don't even know what they like. They don't even know who they are. But now they're trying to solve a problem or a question out there that's kind of a few steps down the line. And what I find is that when people start accepting their emotions, befriending them, and understanding that emotions are merely energy in motion. And so when you allow the energy to move through you, and you find, what is it trying to say, what is it giving me, what is it focusing my attention on, the clearer we are with that, the clearer our life question can become.
This is a very different way of approaching business from kind of the linear masculine way that we were taught. I mean, I went to a business incubator where it was all about find out what your product is and then develop everything around that. And kind of emotions were something that were dealt with secondary to that. So to be beginning with the emotions is a very, very interesting place to start building a business from. Are you finding that there's resistance out there to this methodology?
Well, I find that the people that have a deep need to bring forth something authentic have to have this balance between the masculine and the feminine energy. And so if you're solely relying on emotions, the feminine energy, because the feminine energy is all about receiving, all about allowing the process in, all about the birthing of something. But if you can have 100 babies, but if you never bring them into life and never raise them into adulthood and put the stuff out there, what's the point of having all these ideas and all these amazing thoughts that come to you? And so the masculine is all about really putting it into action, taking those steps, being courageous, focusing on what needs to be dealt with. And so it's all about the balance between the masculine and the feminine. And I find for many people, and this comes to a thing which is very much the way that we raised, our schooling experience, all of those things make us lean more to the one or the other side. And I find when people are, when they start to accept the part that they've rejected, and I talk a lot about shadow work, where we deal with inner wounds, childhood issues, and especially where there's limiting beliefs that we form. And those beliefs we normally form before the age of 7. And the irony is we live from those outdated beliefs. And everything that we do comes from that. And so I find for many entrepreneurs who don't have this balance between the masculine and the feminine side, they have what I call a glass ceiling. And so it's almost like their mind is set to a thermostat of so much happiness, so much success, or so much growth in their business. But when they hit that ceiling, it's like and then they revert back to that belief, you see, I'm not good enough, what I want is not available to me, or I'm rejected. And I think for a lot of creatives, the whole thing of not belonging and not feeling part of is very, very strong. Because when you are an outlier, when you are somebody who's lived outside the tribe, the gift of that is that you have a completely different vantage point. And people don't see it like that. They see like, well, all my life I was the black sheep. All my life I was never understood. I didn't really fit in. I didn't really, things didn't really work out for me. And so the mindset is, I don't belong. And in ancient times, if you were kicked out the village, if you were sent out the village, you would die. And so the corollary of this whole thing is that the mind believes, when I'm rejected, I will die. So the mind will do everything to keep you down here in the place of safety, versus going, well, let me step beyond my comfort zone. Let me go beyond this. And what I talk about is making the unfamiliar familiar. So if you were familiar with staying down here, living within your limits, living within, and for many entrepreneurs and especially creatives, the whole thing of outshining, so say you were very gifted at art or soccer or golf or whatever the thing was. If you had this incredible talent, but your brother or sister didn't have that, you would literally dull your light and make yourself small so that you would be accepted. But now you become an adult and now you want to be that golf superstar or the this or the that. But your mind says, no, my greater thing is to survive. And so I'm going to keep you in the shadows so that you won't die. That's actually the bottom line.
Those are some amazing insights. Thank you so much for sharing them with us. What sort of creatives do you mostly work with? Because creative is a broad kind of term these days. What does your ideal client look like?
So my ideal client is somebody that wants to change something about society, wants to change the culture. So whether they are in education, whether they're an artist, whether they're a person with a spiritual vision, anybody who's thinking outside the box and goes like, what's happening now is not really serving us. If we think about where we find ourselves in the world, there are so many things that are literally changing, in front of our eyes. But if we keep those same mindsets, if we keep those same ways of doing things, we will never move forward. And so anybody who is a visionary, anybody who is an outlier, who feels that they have this thing kind of inside of them that they haven't really found their niche or their market or their way of putting it out there. And the whole thing to do, it's got to do with courage, because it takes a lot of courage to authentically show up. And I think if you think about schools these days, there's such a conformity, because if you think about many years ago, your work, your life's work was basically your art form. It was the thing that you were skilled at. It was you were a master, or you mastered something, and you were a carpenter, or you were an artist, or you were a potter, or you were a baker. All those things are artworks in and of themselves. But now with the whole industrial revolution, people were really brought back into this linear. This is how we do things. This is how things must be done. And they're very much kind of narrow-minded. Let's stay all thinking the same. Let's all do the same. And out of that comes a fear of being different, of standing out, of saying no, of drawing boundaries, of going, well, let's do it a different way. Let's do it another way. So there's a lot of resistance in being the outlier, being the person that's maybe not always conforming with how things are generally done.
It's so interesting. So you work with a lot of social entrepreneurs?
Yes.
Okay. That's a great sector to be in right now. Do you think it's growing with COVID-19?
What do you mean? Do I?
The social entrepreneurship space, do you think COVID-19 has given it a bit of a push?
Oh, definitely. Because, the face-to-face is all, everybody had to kind of now move into a different space. And so...
we're all feeling like outliers.
Yes. I think the problem is that the whole thing of still being authentic, because I think you can be a wonderful person one-on-one with a person in your office or in your business, but you put a person in front of a camera and somehow it triggers all that. When I did when I did public speaking at school, or when I did my first oral, all those voices kind of come back again. And so I help a lot of people just how to, show up, how to present themselves, and it's all about bringing forth clearly who you are, that clarity of your being, because that's kind of what people want to connect with. They don't want to connect with, because there's many people that can help them with X, Y, Z. But if they're looking to work with you, there's an essence of you that they want to connect with, and it's hard to bring that onto camera, how to, your voice, what to do with your voice. Because I find with a lot of people who are outliers, that many times they would have grown up with the thing, why do you talk so much? You know, why have you got so much to say? Can't you be quiet? All those little niggly things. And it literally, the blockage will be in their throat. So I work a lot with the body and how it relates to our alignment. So a lot of illnesses, a lot of that's not necessarily medically explained, that's sitting in the subconscious mind, where people, just as they want to start talking, they'll have a frog in their throat, or they'll speak with a too high intonation, or because especially for females, we need to understand this is a masculine dominated world. And so when we speak with a very high pitch and we don't really expand the resonance of our voice, because our voice is merely the projection of our spirit. It's our spirit that's coming out and bringing something out there. And when we are not aligned with ourselves, our voice is going to reflect that. So there's a lot of voice coaching things I do with helping people just to calm their voice and bring their voice into resonance. But the bigger thing is to connect with this alignment process, to really help people align with the essence of who they are, so that when they speak, there's an authenticity, but also an authority that comes out. Because I find for female entrepreneurs, we still have this thing that, especially if your mom didn't work or the females in your tribe didn't work, there's this thing where women have to be in the kitchen and women have to look like this and women have to be the nurturers. So there's a lot of misalignment, and they go like, well, am I the man now? Am I the woman now? Am I the boss now? Am I this now? There's so many, because we as women can wear many hats at the same time. Mm. And if we only take on what the world says we can do, like the parameter of, I can only pitch up like this, it will all reflect in your voice.
Mm. It's so interesting. I've even, I remember some years back when I was teaching a group of women, a woman once insinuated to me that I must be in some way defective if I couldn't find a man to look after me. And, you know, it's all those subtle messages that we get along the way really do impact on us in ways that we don't understand. So those are really interesting insights.
And where it sits, it literally sits on a cellular level. So one of the techniques that I use is called holographic memory resolution. And what that entails is that all trauma sits on a cellular level in a holographic format. So the beauty of that is that when you can touch the trauma at any point of it, and then you can reframe it. And so then the body can have a whole different experience of that trigger point that happened at that minute. And so like those questions or those things that the people say to you, all those things are there on a cellular level. And depending on what part of your body was weak at that point, it would literally reside in your chest area, in your throat area, in your lower abdomen. And I find for a lot of people with a lot of chronic pain, headaches, migraines, all of those are literally those triggered messages that are sitting on cellular level. And because we couldn't deal with it in the moment, so when people said certain things to us, we couldn't then immediately say, no, I don't agree, or that's wrong, or whatever. And we didn't allow those words to dissipate. What happens is the body keeps it for us, it stores it for us, till we get to a place where it's now safe enough for us to let it go. But the problem is we never do that. And that's why I say I work a lot with the emotions of anger and overwhelm. And just briefly, when we get triggered, so when somebody says something to you that doesn't really resonate with you or that angers you, there's two things you can do. On the one side, you can go, is there something I can do about this? Is there action I can take? But if you can't, so let's deal with this side. So if there is an action that you can take, then there's a process of simply letting it go. And we can maybe do an exercise after this to help people when they're triggered in the moment. But if there is something that you can do about it, what anger is literally showing you, it becomes the beam, it becomes the laser beam to show you where you were violated, by whom, and what they said or what the precise thing was. If you think about anger, it's your alarm system. Now, many of us battle with intuition because we have completely cut out our alarm system. We have no alarm system because we were told you can't have an opinion, you can't speak up, whatever. There's certain associations we make with angry people. But when we allow anger to literally be our alarm system, something that will merely show us there was a violation, it was done by this person, and this is the action I now need to take to resolve it. Because otherwise, if I keep all my doors open and all my windows open for more burglars to come in, I'm going to be plundered. But the alarm system is saying, if you close that window, if you draw that boundary, if you speak up, you can shut the door and the burglar will go. So if you understand that anger is merely a mechanism for your body to go, this is not something that's useful to me, that's violating either my conscience or my beliefs, and then you can allow the emotion of anger to give you courage in a sense to now take action. Because for many of us, we feel angry, but we hold it inside. And then that anger turns in, becomes depression, because we depress our inner selves. And depression is merely where we've used so much energy to depress something that we have used energy from tomorrow and the next week and a year from now and 2 years from now. And so sometimes people go into cycles of depression, especially creatives, where they go into cycles of depression where they just feel low and unmotivated and not at a place where they can really put out their best work, because they've literally used the energy of tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. And if they start becoming an energy investor, meaning when an emotion comes, go like, well, what is this emotion telling me? What is the action I now need to take from this thing? Then you become an energy investor where you go, okay, this is the action I need to take. Even like anxiety, when you feel anxious. It's a problem when you have anxiety that's a 10 out of 10. All you need to do is learn to listen to anxiety when it's a 2. Because anxiety of a 2 out of 10 is merely showing you there's this an action I need to take. I need to take it by this date, and I need to speak to this and this and this person. But if we don't do that, the anxiety gets more and more and more and more until it gets to a 10, and then we get into overwhelm. And then that's a whole arrangement of different emotions and different things that take place. But if we merely listen to anxiety when it's a 2 out of 10, it's our procrastination buster. So it will make us to be on time, effective, taking action. All of those things will come into play. But if we merely just leave the anxiety, that's when it starts shouting louder and louder and louder.
Wow. You have packed so much value into this interview. Thank you so much. Those are some really valuable insights that I think a lot of people watching will be able to learn from. Thank you for your generosity with that. So I see we're moving towards the end of our time. What parting words would you like to leave with us, and where can we find you on the social networks if people want to connect with you? Do you give one-on-one sessions? How do we get in touch if we want to get involved in any of your processes?
So I work obviously mainly via Skype or Zoom, and I do one-on-one sessions. You can find me at Nienie Wood Transformational Coaching. That's my Facebook page, and on Instagram I'm at Wood Nienie. And then people can just message me via Messenger or my Facebook page to make contact.
Okay, that's awesome. Thank you so much for your time. You've packed in so much value for anybody watching. It's been amazing. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Melanie. Bye-bye.